Greetings, fellow YouTuber. My name is Tim. It helps if you have the volume thing up. Greetings, fellow YouTuber. My name is Tim. Welcome once again to the show that one critic called the most godforsaken hour in the history of the internet. This is GainerWorld Live. My name is Tim Gainer. Thank you so much for joining us once again as we have been doing this every Friday since, I don't know, probably about the last 2 years now that I think about it. We've been doing this for a while, and what we do is real simple. What we do is we hang out. We don't do much more than that. We get together, myself and all of my friends over here in the chat, and we hang out and we exchange views and we talk about current events and we make weird little jokes. And if time allows, I got this nifty little guitar next to me that I might even pick up and maybe just, I don't know, try to make some kind of noise on. But that's generally what we do, and I appreciate you joining me. If you're new to this, if you see this right here, if you're watching this live, that is the actual chat that goes on YouTube. And you can see yourself, and you talk to yourself, and you can talk to everybody else that's in the chat room, and we will respond to you. Not a problem. If for some reason you're watching the replay of this on YouTube and you still see this groovy little thing right here in front of me, or over to my right, your left, whatever the case may be, by all means, go ahead and answer in the comments down below, and we will answer you. We will answer you in the future. We'll answer you. We'll answer you in the future. So by all means, definitely say hi to us. Tripstar has already bounced in. He said hello to us, which is really a cool thing. So thank you very much, Trippy. Appreciate that. Lots of things going on this week. As always, we appreciate the fact that people take time out of their stuff to do this. We also encourage you right after this show to head on over to Hugs 24/7 Radio at hugs@wrgg.com, hugsatwrgg.com, where the Hugs Top 10 Countdown will be taking place with your pal and mine, Cyrus Gray. And I understand that he's got a special guest this evening. Ho. You know what that means. Yeah, it can only lead to no good. So by all means, check that out after this show. A lot of really cool music news. I was thinking that maybe, just maybe, we weren't going to have any kind of news to talk about because it was kind of a slow week, and that's okay. That's okay because it turns out that there's a ton of music news, which, if you're a regular viewer, you know we always love. We love the fact that there's always new music news, and one of them is something that, and you know, it's big news when he puts the glasses on. Oh yes, it's big news. By all means, if you are a fan of this person, you will realize how big a news this is. But according to Consequence Sound, one of your better industry magazines online that's out there, apparently there's going to be a new album this fall. And the new album that is out this fall is by, yes, everybody's favorite Icelander, Björk. That's right, our favorite little former Sugar Cubes singer and founder is releasing a new album. It's called Fossora. Fossora, and she did an interview with The Guardian recently, and she said it's her Mushroom album. Now, I'm not really sure what that means, to be very honest with you. But it's Bjork, so basically just kind of go with it as you will. But she described Fossora as her Mushroom album. So according to Consequent Sound, that means that it's an earthy, organic sound that she's dubbed biological techno. Simon is saying shrooms. Tim, get with it. No, this is Bjork we're talking about, dude. So it could mean anything. As a matter of fact, I'll give you an example of just what we're talking about here. Her last album, which was 5 years ago. I didn't know it had been that long. 5 years ago, Utopia from 2017. 1917. Yeah, I'm doing okay. She said it was a magical retreat from the black lake of misery that I had plunged myself into. Wow. Therapy much, Bjork? Fossora finds Bjork in a post-utopia dreamland. This is a quote now from Bjork. Okay? This is a quote. Let's see what it's like when you walk into this fantasy and, have a lunch and a fart and do normal things like meet your friends. Yeah. Let's do normal things, Bjork. So that's the visual description of the new album. It's a sextet. It features, it says here, a sextet of bass clarinets, beats crafted by Indonesian dance duo Gabor Modus Operandi, and vocals from her son Sindri, as well as her daughter Isadora and the musician Serpent with Feet. Of course, we all know about Serpent with Feet, don't we? Lord knows that we... If somebody knows of that person, yeah, let me know. And by the way, that Bjork's mother, who passed away in 2018, wrote two of the songs that are featured on the album. She also, in the interview, clarified past commitments that she made describing Fossora as a living room club album born out of a coronavirus lockdown. I was trying to take the mickey out of myself. Here I am, this lady stuck in my living room in lockdown, and it's a really serious song for 4.5 minutes, and then it's 1 minute of woo. Not sure what time signature woo is in, but we'll find out on Fossora. Along with the new album, she's planning to launch a podcast series about her discography, and she'll play Primavera Sound's new Latin American festivals in the fall, which is kind of fun. She's also, as of today, released the single from the first single from her album today. It's called Ovule, Ovule. It's a new song that, according to Stereogum, travels in a bunch of different directions at once. Considering the source, this really doesn't surprise me all that much. She produced and arranged it herself, and the only other credited musicians, I should say, are Birgir Thoresen on trombone and Soraya Nayar on timpani. And Bjork arranged the trombones and timpani as well. In fact, if you need a description of her new single, this is how Bjork described it on Instagram. And I quote, "Ovule, for me, is my definition of love. It is a meditation about us as lovers walking around this world, and I imagine two spheres or satellites following us around. One above us that represents ideal love, and one below us representing the shadows of love. And we ourselves walk around in the third sphere of real love, where the everyday Monday morning meet in the kitchen love lives in. And there's a video for this as well. Lucky you. And as you can tell, she wears some really weird fashions. She kind of looks like a... According to Stereo Gum, in this picture that you're looking at, it appears to be a gigantic CGI juggernaut helmet. Yeah. Alrighty. Bjork's got a new one. We do, however, if you are interested, this is the album cover to it. Don't have an exact date as to the release of the album itself, except that it's coming soon. So be on the lookout for that if you're a Bjork fan, or if you just like things that are a little trippy. And I'm being totally respectful, and I'm sure Bjork would understand it when I say that. So yeah, Fasora coming soon, and Ovule, or whatever it's supposed to be, coming soon to a record store or streaming service near you. Trip Store's asking me a bunch of questions. Isn't that the last you were obsessed with on the podcast? No, that was not. This is the person that, and I think I can say this, and I've mentioned this story a couple of times. My oldest son, Jim, he came to me one day while he was in high school, and he was rather sincere about this question, actually. He said, I'm really starting to get into Bjork. And I went, oh, okay, that's cool. I liked her stuff with the Sugar Cubes. I liked her first album, but then after that, she just went on this weird tangent. And he just looked at me and went, does that make me gay? Strictly an artistic call, as far as I'm concerned. And he was on a Bjork kick when we did one particular video way back. You might want to go back to past episodes and check that one out. Also, Simon's saying, I'm watching the video right now, and it's like Iceland Lady Gaga. Yeah, she's unique. I mean, I will say this. She's an artist. She's a performance artist. And like I said, I liked her first album. I liked the stuff that she did with the Sugar Cubes. Big Time Sensuality is a great song. Still one of my all-time faves from her. But the stuff that she does now, it's like, she mentions mushrooms. It's like Peter Gabriel on mushrooms. That's the best. This is, mind you, this is my opinion as a musician, as a writer, as, someone who listens to music. Your mileage may vary. If you're a Bjork fan, that's wonderful. God bless you. Go out and buy the album when it's available on all streaming services, and I'm sure probably your favorite Tower record store. So there is that. I know you love Peter Gabriel, dude. He is way ahead of his time, and that's why I mentioned. I kind of put him and Bjork in the same category. Because, a lot of stuff that she does is controversial at best. But if you look back at it, if you look at a lot of her work in retrospect, you kind of go, okay, yeah, she was ahead of her time. She was just really, she might have been really out there. And you have artists like that. You've got artists like, like Gabriel, Bjork, Yoko Ono, people like that they're just so far ahead of themselves that it takes a while for people to catch up to them. But when they do, that's another story altogether. Speaking of people that were way ahead of their time, You may know this name. If you don't, I promise you will know this person by the time we get done with this particular segment. You know the name. You may not know the music, but you do know the name of Janis Ian. Janis Ian has been on the folk scene and has been a part of the American psyche since she was 17. And we're talking back around 1966, 1967 when she recorded her first album, which we will talk about in just a minute. But she has had an amazing career, had a bunch of hit singles, and she had released a farewell studio album a couple of months ago and was on tour to support this album when, as of Wednesday, she unfortunately had to cancel the remaining dates of her tour. Unfortunately, she indicated on her social media platforms, she indicated that she has laryngitis, and that forced her to postpone several earlier concerts. But it's turned out, and this is a quote now from Janis, it turns out that it's more complicated. There is vocal fold scarring. That's not good. That is not good, and that does affect the voice. She added, it's not due to polyps or singing incorrectly. The doctors can only speculate as to why, but treatments are very limited. And it would be many months before we know the outcome of any treatment. Man, that's scary. That is scary when somebody tells you that. What's even scarier is her post concluded. I cannot imagine any singer, any performer having to say these words. And this is a quote from Janis Ian's website and from Best Classic Bands. Her post concluded, "It is most unlikely that I'll ever sound like myself again. I consider myself lucky that this isn't life-threatening, though the loss in my own small world is staggering." Wow. That is so sad. And what's even sadder was she did this during her farewell tour. She had released this album in January. She considers it her farewell studio album, Light at the End of the Line. She released this in November of last year, actually. And she had said that she was going to retire. That this was it. This was the end of it. The album, allegedly, well, the album is actually, this is a quote, a kaleidoscopic catalog that began with her 1967 self-titled debut. According to the original announcement, the tour began in March, and this was her final North American tour. Now, if you don't know who Janis Ian is, you need to. You need to know Janis Ian because she blasted through on the folk scene in 1967 with her first album. If you haven't heard it, you need to. It was an album called Society's Child. She released a single from this album, which her record company, Verve, kind of was against, but she was very, very adamant about it. And it was controversial in that, again, this was in 1967. And it was a single about an interracial romance. about a white woman dating a black man in 1967. Now, mind you, this was during the civil rights movement. This was during the us versus them era. And this song was banned on so many radio stations. But it got played in the underground, and the underground press got a hold of it, and it just catapulted her to fame. And then later on, and this was really what kind of shot her to prominence, and that was in 1975 when she released an album called Between the Lines. Had a huge single off of this album. It was called At 17. Got number 3 on the Hot 100. She got a Grammy Award nomination for Record of the Year. Got another one for Song of the Year. She lost both of those, but she did win for Best Female Pop Vocal Performance. And the album went to number 1. She also had another single off of that, Signs. And she had just she never had another big single. But the fact of the matter is that she is known as just one of the real trailblazers in folk music, in modern folk music. And the fact that she has to go out the way that she is going out is really, really sad to me. It's really sad. Because like I said, this was her swan song. This was her farewell tour. And boy, you want to see people go out on top when they do that. So hopefully she'll be able to reschedule. Hopefully that it's nothing totally serious. It doesn't sound good though. I'll be really honest with you. It doesn't sound all that good. But if it is, hail and farewell, Janice. Thank you for everything. And best to you. Best to you. Here's to a speedy recovery. Hope everything's going to be cool. Hope everything's going to be fine with that. So yeah, got that going on. All kinds of fun stuff happening here this week. One of the things that I do want to tell you about is that something that's going to be happening tomorrow night. I wish I had the graphic for it up. Unfortunately, I don't. But Amy City Games popping in. She doesn't want your teen sympathy. She knows when the party's over. She'll see you on the other side of the sun. I'm Amy City, obviously a Janician fan. Okay, but there's always time for solitaire, right? My sister was the one who turned me on to Janician. I mean, I'd heard Society's Child. I'd heard that song and absolutely loved it. In 75, I gotta be honest with you. I'd heard The Other Side, and I kind of thought she'd sold out. You know, like you do with like a lot of your favorite bands. When you find bands that are underground and they suddenly break through to the mainstream, you think they sold out. Oh man, they're not like they used to be. They used to be really cool. But they're not cool because now everybody else knows about them. But At 17 is a terrific song. The whole album is really good. Looking back on it. But yeah, she was a trailblazer in every way, shape, and form. And she is a force that will be sorely missed in the music scene. Speaking of the music scene, well, you know, I want to do something that I haven't done in a long time. And I mean to say I haven't done this in a long, long time. Oh, hello. Let's go throwing your guitar around, Tim. What's wrong with you? I haven't had a chance to, since I've gotten back from Washington, actually. I haven't had a chance to play, although I've been able to show a couple of videos from performing, and we were just talking about that today. I was talking with one of my neighbors about that, and talking about some of the fun that we had that, yeah, let me do this one. Never got to know her very well. All we did was spend a little time. You're waiting for a story. There's really none to tell. She's just a passing shadow on my mind. But I remember her on the streets of New York City, and here was I, looking for some place to go. I turned and said, "Hey, the snowflakes on your lashes." She laughed and said, "That isn't snow." She said, "It's feathers from a pillow God is shaking in the sky." She opened her smiling lips to catch a snowflake passing by. We both began to laugh, and I looked into her eyes, and it was warmer there. But I never got to know her very well. All we did was spend a little time. If you're waiting for a story, there's really none to tell. She's just a passing shadow on my mind. But I remember her as we woke up warm together in her flowered room. She said, "I'll help you pack." She sold my shirts. I said I'd stay forever. She laughed and put some cookies in my sack. She said, "Leave a trail of cookie crumbs as you walk through the snow, and I will follow after and find you where you go." Left her in the doorway, oh, why I'll never know, but I was younger then. But I never got to know her very well. All we did was spend a little time. You're waiting for a story, there's really none to tell. She's just a passing shadow on my mind. Never got to know her very well. Man, that felt good. I haven't been able to do that in a few weeks. I like that. Amity City, of course. Back on the prowl. Tupelo Honey. Oh, man. Yeah. I used to know that. I actually used to know that song. I gotta pull that one out. Maybe I'll pull that one out in a couple of weeks. We'll see what happens with that. We're gonna go away for a second. And, when we come back, we've got another, Happy to Jog the Memory. Yeah. And God knows I need that every now and then. I ain't gonna lie to you at this stage of the game. But, we're gonna go away. We're gonna come back, and then we're gonna talk about somebody who, he's been looking over his shoulder for a little while. And also, you're never going to guess who started their own school. I'm not kidding. You might want to stick around for this one.
While you're inside, wage a war on yourself. The damage has been done. So call the truce, stand and deliver. This battle can still be won. But first lay down your arms. So take a look around across the field of dreams both lost and found. There's no use crying for casualties you lost within the fight. The wounded lie waiting for relief that's just inside. Within your struggle for redemption, there's a block along the way, and it belongs to those who still believe. You still have much to say. Please raise the flag, come to the
table. Go out quick like a bunny. After the show is done, of course, and after you're done listening to the Hugs Top 10 Countdown, and head to your favorite streaming service, or just go to timgainer.com and get your copy of my latest single, Lay Down Your Arms. I'm very proud of it. I'm also very proud to say that it is making the climb on the Hugs Top 200 chart. Last week it was number 36. The new chart is out today and actually is up to number 28. And that's based upon you guys playing it on Metapop. So thank you very much for that. Please keep it up. I'd love to see it at number one. And that would just really mean a whole lot to me. And thank you very much for your support on that. It's one of those songs that I'm kind of proud of and would love nothing more than to be able to see that at number one. Because, that's based upon you guys liking it. So I was going to save this. I was going to save this story for the end of the show. But then I realized I've got two of the best people in the chat room that will comment on this. You know, it's September. It's September. And we all know what that means. Start of fall. For a lot of kids, it's the start of the school year. Which means another year filled with youthful expectations, education, many adventures heading their way into their young lives. Earth, Wind, and Fire gets overplayed in 5 days. What? Huh? How did Earth, Wind, and Fire get overplayed in 5 days? I'm not going anywhere else. I was going to say 911. What in the hell? You remember the 21st of September? Oh, yeah, okay. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I could be, but I'm not. But it's a good connection. I like that. It's a good correlation. No, I think, Tripstar also means 9/11. See, I'm telling you, y'all, this is a deadly combination in the chat room, boy. I just want you to know. And if you feel anything about this, please, like I said, join these guys because it's about to get real weird up in here. I just feel it. Because when I think September, I think school. And I think education. And when I think education, I, like many other people these days, can't help but make that great connection between higher education and Kanye West. Now, You may be asking yourself, Gainer, have you lost your mind? No. Obviously, Yeezy has lost his mind, and I'll tell you why. According to Rolling Stone, he has now moved into, along with being, of course, the cultural and creative visionary that he claims to be. And if you're a fan of South Park, the fact that he likes gay fish. Of course, there's the Yeezy line. You know, he's had collaborations with Adidas and the Gap, although, you know, he's gotten out of the Gap. He's done tech projects like the STEM player. But now he's ventured into the realm of higher education. He has opened Donda Academy. Yes, it's true. His own private school named after his late mother, Professor Donda West. But instead of it being in his beloved Roseland here in the great city of Chicago, no, it's headquartered in Simi Valley, California. It is a tuition-based Christian prep school whose mission is, according to its website, to, quote, according to Rolling Stone, prepare students to become the next generation of leaders through an ethic of integrity and care. And here it comes, Simon saying, in other words, they're going to teach you how not to raise a child. Yeah, that's kind of how it's looking right now. Ye went back to Instagram earlier this month, which in itself is a terrifying concept. And he shared photos of students decked out in school uniforms consisting entirely of Yeezy and his Gap designs. So yeah, no self-inflicted PR here. And he also complained about his 4 children not attending the school, suggesting, of course, that his ex-wife, Kim Kardashian, that the kids should split their time between Donda and their Donda Academy and their current school, which, of course, is a major curriculum set up for any stable child. He's got plans to open up campuses across the country alongside a Donda University. But the school is not letting out any information about its academics beyond what's on its website. Private schools detail their staff, their classes, all their programs, their curriculum, their accreditations. But no, not Yay. Or as I like to call it now, Yay You. The Academy website merely notes the students' daily schedule includes, quote, full school worship, core classes of language arts, math and science, lunch and recess. It's a plus right there. Enrichment courses, including world language, visual arts, film choir, and Parker. AMU City also says it's not yet accredited, which is true. It's the first thing needed. This is true. Especially following the debacle that happened in the late 2000s. Well, just the USC thing alone with, Aunt Becky from Fuller House. Let's nothing good can come of this. Yeah, no, I know. Well, here's the part that kind of tricks me out. 2 sources are telling Rolling Stone that families are required to sign non-disclosure agreements A consultant to the school claims only parents sign and described as an informal agreement. What's more, as Amu City pointed out, the school is not yet accredited and still looking to hire instructors right before the school year began. Exactly who attends and works at the school has been tricky to pin down. Donda's listed administrators and sporting programs leadership did not respond to Rolling Stone's multiple inquiries for school. A representative for Kanye also didn't respond for requests for comment. Many of those associated with the school even balked at interview requests, as did parents whose children attend the school. Yeah. Even attempts at Simi Valley's local newspaper noted in a June article it couldn't reach anyone. Oh, my goodness. So, yeah. Amu City saying on the tote board, sounds like Ye is going the R. Kelly MJ route with an NDA in place to keep everything on the DL. Yeah, does this sound like Orange Boy University or what? What was that movie about the guys that started a college? I can't remember what the name of it was. Somebody help me out with that. But it sounds a lot like that. I'd love to know how much the tuition is, quite honestly. But here's the other thing. Here's the other thing that I have a hard time with. And I really think that anybody that wants to attend YAU, they may want to think about this one. Because also according to Rolling Stone, he went on the Aloe Yoga podcast recently and said that he has not read a single book. He hasn't read any book, and even went so far as to liken it to eating Brussels sprouts. Now look, I don't like Brussels sprouts either. In fact, I hate them. I gag on them. Yeah. Accepted was the movie. Yes, Accepted. With Southampton Institute of Technology. Yes, that's right. Mascot was the shit sandwich. Yes, I remember now. Thank you. So, as I said, Harmon, not Hampton. Okay, Harmon. Whatever. So, he went on an appearance on the Aloe Yoga podcast, Aloe Mindful, which in itself is kind of weird. During the chat with Aloe Yoga CEO and co-founder Danny Harris, Yeezy commented on his reference to a book. He said, when you said I hadn't read this book, I actually hadn't read any book. Reading is like eating Brussels sprouts for me. But this guy is starting a school. And on top of that, he also made an interesting, albeit difficult to execute, proposal during the podcast. He advocated for designing a world geared more toward the elderly by replacing stairs with ramps all over the world. This is a quote from the Yay. Quote, I'm really big on outlawing stairs. We can have up ramps, but not upstairs. Everything would be designed like an old folks' home. If we're lucky, we'll all turn into old folks. While we're in the position of power to determine what the world looks like and how it functions, are we all selfishly designing and not considering how it should be in the future? We're going to keep an eye on this one. we're going to keep an eye on Donda University simply because this man wants to educate your children, but he doesn't like to read. What's wrong with this picture? Simon is saying, not being funny, but sprouts are actually lovely. I can't. My parents fed me Brussels sprouts when I was a kid, and I gagged on them every single time. I can't even look at Brussels sprouts. My sister brought home Brussels sprouts for me to eat, okay? They went out and went shopping for me, went grocery shopping. And I thought, it was a very sweet gesture. Then I saw the bag of Brussels sprouts, and I immediately just grabbed them and threw them in the garbage. I can't even look at them without gagging. Cannot handle Brussels sprouts. Even Amy City is agreeing with Tripstar. I agree. Brussels sprouts are delicious, roasted with olive oil, salt, pepper, garlic, and Parmesan cheese. Yeah, okay. Nothing. Nothing worse. I need to show this. Nothing worse than making a poor old person walk up a ramp. No stair lifts are around. Those stair lifts are around for a reason. Yeah. But, it's easy. So, what are you going to do? He's from Roseland. Just saying. Beverly Boy knocking Roseland. I shouldn't do that. I made a friend a sprout friend. A sprout friend. Yes, you did. You guys can exchange recipes. Okay. It'll be great. You guys can have your own little Brussels sprout barbecue. Which in itself is a terrifying concept. Got time for one more. And this one's kind of interesting. But this one, and this is another reason that I'm glad that people like Simon Lee are in the chat right now. Because he will remember this. He'll remember what I'm talking about with this. A couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, actually. We were we slightly, for a split second, reminisced about when we started our podcast back in 2016. And 2016, if you remember, was something we dubbed as the year of the dead rock star. Everybody died in 2016. David Bowie, Lemmy, Glenn Frey, just Prince. It was a bad year for music. And one of the jokes that we always had to do with Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Now, if you're a younger viewer, you don't know this band, you need to know about them because they were one of the pioneers of progressive rock back in the early 70s. Had a magnificent string of best-selling albums. Just amazing band. If you've ever heard the song Lucky Man. No, not ELO Trip. ELP. Oh, God. Anyway, but be that as it may. Yeah, no, they were an amazing band. They really were. They were one of my favorite bands, to be sure. And they just had a string of best-selling albums. Their first album, Tarkus, Brain Salad Surgery, Pictures at an Exhibition, the Work series. They were just fantastic. Just a fantastic band. Unfortunately, though, 2016, the year of the dead rock star, we saw two of the members of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, ELP, pass away. Keith Emerson passed away in March of 2016, unfortunately, very tragically, by a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. And Greg Lake, in December of that year, dying of cancer. And one of the jokes that we always made was that Carl Palmer had better be watching his back because, I mean, stop and think about that, And then earlier that year, John Wetton, who played in Asia with Carl Palmer, he passed away. So, yeah, Carl has been looking over his shoulder quite a bit since then. But he has found the way to get around this. He has found the way to get around this. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you, welcome back, my friends, the return of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, the tour. And you said he just said in the chat that in the last photo, let me pull this up. We have to put the visual with this. So hold on. In the last visual, prior to the drums, he looks like a failed Vegas magician. And you know what? You're kind of right. Keith is the party goer. Greg is just the bemused neighbor next door that just kind of came by to borrow, some cheese and thought he'd stick around for the party. And yeah, for some reason right there, and this is from the, yeah, this was in 1997 during the Albert Hall concert. And yeah, he does look like a really bad morphing of a really bad mutation of Siegfried and Roy. But anyway, 50 years. Welcome back, my friends. The return of Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Now you can't unsee it. Where's his white tiger? I don't know. Probably sitting next to his stainless steel drums. But yeah. So Carl Palmer has made the announcement that he is going out on tour. He explored the idea. Now, this is according to Best Classic Bands. He explored the idea of doing like a hologram tour, via Roy Orbison and Ronnie James Dio and all that crap. But then, apparently, the estates of Keith Emerson and Greg Lake got into it. And they all said the same thing. They have a more honest approach. And what they're going to do is they're going to take live film. They're going to take the film that I just talked about, the Albert Hall performance in 1997. And Carl and his band, his backing band, will play along with the film and have tape of Emerson, Lake and Palmer. They will have the tape of Greg Lake playing and Keith Emerson playing. No, Amu City, they are not digging up the prior members and manipulating them like marionettes. Unfortunately, that's not the case. They're using tape. The way this is going to go, and it's all over YouTube, if you've seen the video of Paul McCartney's last tour, and at one point during his encore, he gets on stage and he starts playing I've Got a Feeling from the Let It Be album. And during that, on the back of the screen, there's an image of John Lennon from the rooftop concert singing along with him while the band is playing. Okay. But anyway, so yeah, after about 5 years, he said, and this is what Palmer said in the press release. About 5 years ago, I explored the idea of trying to reunite the band using digital holograms. We saw a few shows of other artists. Didn't seem like an honest approach, you think? Then we realized the film we made of ELP's sold-out run at London's Royal Albert Hall in 1992, I beg your pardon, I was saying 97, had everything we needed. We were able to use the camera shots of Keith and Greg with the sterling audio tracks of their performances, resulting in a combination of film and onstage performance that brings the magic of ELP back. The tour is going to start in Philadelphia on November the 18th at the 2300 Arena. It looks like it's going to be pretty much tied to the East Coast. They're going through Jim Thorpe, PA, Wayne, New Jersey. They're going to be the Patchogue Theater in Patchogue, New York, the Town Hall in New York City, the Wilbur Theater in Boston. They're coming here to Chicago. They'll be playing at the Arcada Theater in St. Charles on December 1st, and then at the Des Plaines Theater on December 2nd, and they're wrapping up the U.S. leg of the tour in Akron on December 3rd at the Goodyear Theater. So yeah, there's that. If you want to see the if you want to see the magic that is Emerson, Lake and Palmer, or shall I just say Carl Palmer with tapes of Emerson and Lake. I like seeing Carl Palmer, but no, no, thank you. I mean, it's a good idea. If you're an ELP fan, it's nice to relive the memories, and I don't see why not. But, all of these hologram shows, they just kind of, I don't know. They just, they don't do it for me. They really don't, But, like I said, pardon me. Like I said, Carl's been having to look over his shoulder for a lot of years. Now he totally needs to look over his shoulder because he's got two screens that he needs to listen to at the same time. Real quick, before we get out of here, there is something else really quick that I wanted to touch on. A lot of people talking about Cat Stevens or our pal Yusef Islam. I'm really happy to say that he's going on tour at the same time. But if you want to go see him, you're going to have to get a plane ticket because he's going to be playing in Turkey. Yeah, 2 shows in Turkey. One on October 19th at the AKM Telkom Opera Hall in Istanbul, and on the 23rd at the CSO Ada in Ankara. So there you have it. If you're a really big Cat Stevens fan, and I mean a really big Yusef Cat Stevens fan, got to get a hair transplant while I'm there. Sure, no problem. I say, why not? That sounds like a good idea to me. In Turkey? I don't know. Whatever the case may be. I'm stating too bold. Whatever. I'm not sure where you're coming from with that one, but that's okay. So yeah, if you want to go see Cat Stevens, if you want to see Yusef Islam, so it's okay. Go see him in Turkey. You're losing hair. Oh, okay. Well, happens to the best of us. So I'm growing mine out because I know mine's going to be gone in a couple of years. So that's not a problem. But anyway, we're going to get out of here. Go to Hugs 24/7 Radio, HUGSATWRGG.com. Cyrus Gray's got the top 10 countdown. He's coming up at 8 o'clock. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining into the chat room. You guys, I certainly do appreciate it. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. Like, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff. I certainly appreciate it. It helps me in a great big way. In other words, if you like it, hey, you know what to do. We'll see you next week. We out. Boom.